Hello everybody, this is Bench85. Welcome back to another episode of You Play KSP Reboot. Almost forgot the reboot part. We are going to be launching a couple of probes today. This is the first one, obviously. If you can't figure out where we're going, you can probably look at the Kerbal alarm clock and see that we have two transfers here. We have a transfer window for Eve and a transfer window for Moho. So we are launching a pair of probes here. Preferably with a better communication system so we don't lose communication like we did last time. And I do want to make note too, since I did mention the fact that it says You Play KSP. I did have, as you probably remember, a request to visit all of the Easter eggs, or at least most of them, in this game. And we will be getting to that, I promise you. Unfortunately, I just feel like we're not quite at the right point in the game and in our career here, as far as the parts that we have to really accomplish that. I do want to start developing a new plane. We're getting some of the new plane parts, so I should be able to develop a plane that can actually survive landing, flight, all that good stuff. So we can do that. And then, now that we're starting to get to other planetary bodies, such as the moon, we can start actually looking for some of those things. And one of the things I wanted to do was to be able to survey the, do like survey scans and kind of play around with the KerbNet portion of it so that we can actually see where the anomalies are. And I need to read up on how it all works so that I can actually make everything work. So this is our first one here. All we were using is our 5-ton launchers to throw up probably about a 4-ton payload, is what it comes out to be. I think the entire ship in its first aspect was somewhere around 7,000, maybe 7,200 Delta V. You see here we still got quite a bit of Delta V left. We're going to burn all but maybe 14 meters per second on this stage here. And we got this stage, we got a secondary stage, and then we've got the probe stage. So we've got a lot of things, a lot of Delta V to work with, which is good. This first one's going to Eve. Eve, we shouldn't have a problem. I think we're going to get into orbit of some sort, even if it's highly elliptical. The Moho one I'm kind of worried about. I'm not sure I can make it. I just wanted to see the scanner here. We had the scanner up on top, and unfortunately my recording software, I can't actually read what that says up there. But afterwards I found out that what it says is you have to be in a stable polar orbit in order to perform it. And we are not in a polar orbit, so we can't do a scan of any sort. But we will get into how that scanner works later on in the video, I promise you that. So old me, stop playing with the scanner and get back to what you're trying to do, and that is to get to Eve. Now what I found out pretty quick as I start doing maneuver notes here, I was not in the ideal transfer window. Trying to get this to line up nicely here. You'll see here I set that as our target, and you'll see that we want, as you know, Eve to be lagging behind us. That allows for proper transfer, and you should transfer right to where the periapsis is, but that is not going to happen. And you also see that our ascending and descending nodes do not match. We're at a different inclination, so I'm trying to match this up, and honestly I tried for about 5-10 minutes. It wasn't working out, so what I did is I waited about 3-4 days, got closer to the window, and it fell right into place. So we lose our first stage there. Now we start kicking out, and this is only going to be just over 1,000 meters per second burn. It's actually less Delta V to get to Eve than it is to get to Duna. It is considered the easiest planet to get to. On top of that, it's got quite the atmosphere, so you can do aero braking, and we may try to do some aero braking. We'll see. I haven't decided. We'll just have to figure that out when we get there. And if I remember correctly, we're going to have to use we're going to use all of the stage, and we're going to have to use a little bit of the probe stage. It's not a whole lot. But regardless, it's roughly, well, we'll be just over 3,000 meters per second here as we're leaving. And you'll see here, this is how close it is. We've got their escape, and we got a little bit more to go. Oh, that's right, we ran out of that stage. So let's activate our last stage here. Fire, and do the last little bit of the burn. So it's only about 89 to about 100 delta V required past our normal exit from Kerbin's sphere of influence to get to that. You can see here we're very close. So all I'm doing is a short inclination change here on the ascending and descending nodes. And just trying to change it around here, and there we go. We have ourselves an encounter in about 205 days. That's pretty good, actually. Fortunately, when I set this maneuver node here, I forget to set the alarm for it. I come back and get that taken care of at a later date. But I decided to start making it better, all that kind of stuff, and really I shouldn't be. We're so far out, it's just going to be a pain to try to get it close like that. We're better off making the inclination change like we have it set up here, and that way we have an encounter. And when we get probably right about where the periaps shows on the orbits, the actual orbit around the sun, then we can make a secondary correction. So this, I thought that was a beautiful shot. Sunrise launch here. Some of the sights in this game are absolutely beautiful. I know I say this time and time again, but this game just blows me away sometimes. It's just amazing. So this is a second launch, basically the same thing. We're headed to Moho as well, with this one I should say. This one I'm worried about because I don't think we have the Delta V to slow ourselves down into an orbit. If you're not familiar with how it works, because we're diving so far down into the, I want to say the sun, it's Kerbal technically is the name of it. So far into the gravity well to get down to where Moho is, and Moho has so much energy in its orbit because it's traveling so close to the star at the center of the system. Oh, there you go, boosters, just kind of traveling back out. Because of that, if you think about it, we need to make, in order to get into orbit around Moho, we have to basically match our orbit so that we fall into that sphere of influence. So we're going to probably expend over 2,000 meters per second to get down there, and I think you normally need about 5,000 to slow down and possibly land. It's a tough place to land. Really, I would probably only do it if I had ion drives. Build a real small probe and build an ion drive out there. It gets to be a very, very slow process, a very slow burn. We're talking like 10-15 minute burn, especially slowing down. It's even more than that, but it's so fuel efficient that it's really not a concern when you get to that point. So now we got coast up to apoapsis, burn a little bit more, and get into orbit, as we always do. And actually these launches are becoming so routine. It's not a big deal anymore. So that one we got a little more fuel, you can see. We got over 100 meters per second in that final stage. Part of that's because I had a little bit more of an optimal launch profile. I didn't go quite so high, and so I didn't have much to clean up when I got to the apoapsis. I didn't have to pause for much. And then on top of that, I also went for a lower orbit, so I didn't need quite as much delta V to get into that lower orbit. And I went for the lower orbit because I figured I could utilize the O-berth effect, you know, where you expend the least amount of energy to travel a long distance when you're close in that gravity well. So the closer we get to Kerbin when we make that, the better. So here you can see already I'm trying to get this transfer set up, and you can see our inclination is really far off. We're talking 7, 8, 9 degrees, and Moho is severely inclined. So there's a little bit of a work to get it there. So it's just a lot of maneuver node editing, stuff like that. It is really nice using that precise maneuver mod to be able to just play around with the numbers like this, especially when you can just zero it out. I was confused there. Why do we not have that? But then you can see we're actually getting a bypass through the moon there. That was what was causing troubles for us. So you can see here we're actually getting a very close encounter here. That's pretty darn close, and it's near the ascending descending node. I was hoping I could maybe get it to work out, but it's a tough one to figure out. It's a tough orbit to try to match. So finally I just end up setting up a secondary maneuver closer to the actual encounter and just kind of correct it as we go here. I probably could cut some of this out, but kind of gives you an idea of the math that's required. Oh, actually I do have that in one shot right there. So we do have an encounter. That's right, that's what was happening. I actually created an encounter, but you'll find out as we progress here and actually make the burn that in reality I totally screw things up. The one thing I forgot, and you'll see that as we get there, is that the estimated burn is based off the engine that you have at that moment. We've got a decent sized engine with a decent amount of thrust with not a lot of delta V left in it. So it's showing a burn that's, what, just over 2 minutes, something like that. I thought, oh, no big deal, we'll get to that point, you know, we'll do 2-minute burn, stuff like that, start a little early. I forget that I have to go through multiple stages here, and that last stage does not have much thrust. It is a low thrust, high efficiency engine. So I probably should have started burning right about there, but instead I wait all the way to here, burn out this stage, get into this stage. You'll see right away we're seeing a jump in how much time it's going to take, and this is a long burn. Like I said, this is over 2,000 meters per second. It's a pretty significant burn. And you'll actually see, based on how the orbit works, if you watch the numbers for the periapsis up in the top left, you'll see that I'm starting at about a periapsis of like 86,000 meters. Eventually we'll actually go below the surface as we get closer and closer to our escape. So this stage probably isn't too bad. This thrust was probably within reason. It would have been an okay burn. But unfortunately, the further and further we get from the periapsis, and the further and further away we get from the planet Kerbin, we're losing that Oberth effect, and we're actually going to start losing efficiency. If you watch the numbers close enough, as the estimated burn numbers tick down, it does not match with the actual delta V requirements. Although I guess I don't have that up. Or actually I do. I do have that delta V requirement up. You'll see that it doesn't match, where I'm dropping 100 meters per second on the estimated burn, and it's dropping like 130, 140 meters per second on how much I have left. So you can tell it's most definitely not coinciding, and that's just because we're getting further and further away from the planet. But this actually becomes the fastest moving probe that we've had, although I think the first Moho probe was pretty fast moving. This one's cruising pretty good though too, and this one, like I said, hopefully should have communication all the way out. We'll find out as we go, but if I do the math on the dishes, it shouldn't be an issue. The nice part is I did put relays on it so that we can use these for communication in the vicinity. if we need to. You see here already almost to 300 kilometers up, where we started the burn at somewhere around 85. So we are cruising away from Kerbin and losing delta V as we go. So it looks like we're going to have, what, under 3,000 meters per second. I can't actually read the numbers in post commentary here, or in editing. Just trying to do this from memory, but it's not a lot. It's not going to be enough to get into orbit. So what we're going to have to look at doing is possibly doing a gravity assist of some sort and seeing if we can kick our orbit to go somewhere else. Maybe even kick out to Duna or further yet. I want to say some of our actual spacecrafts, things like Voyager and stuff like that, Mariner, they did use gravity assist a lot. Man, that is a pretty picture right there. Watching Kerbin slowly disappear. That Terminator line as it fuzzes out, it's absolutely gorgeous. So you see here our orbit is way off. Nowhere near what we expected it to be. So originally I was looking to do it at the ascending descending node, just to try to get something that would match, and it's costing a heck of a lot of delta V to try to match this up. So eventually I just start kicking the maneuver further back, trying to adjust it as we're coming in, and we're going to be cruising when we get to that point. Realizing that pretty quick I'm going to be moving way too fast here. We're just not going to match up with the planet very well. So now I zeroed it out. All I keep doing on this is just kind of zeroing out the maneuver, trying to see where I'm at, and seeing if I can find something that actually matches up. We're getting close approach is way over there. It wasn't working for me. So we try to set that, and I just try to get this lined up, and I'm seeing that the angle is way off. There's no way we're gonna get this to match with the inclination the way it is. But what we can do is we can put a whole lot of energy to change our inclination. So I decided to move it further back, hoping to move the inclination change, the ascending descending node, try to get that to change at a different point in the orbit. As well as trying to move the location of where we're going to be meeting up here. You can see I'm starting to bring it back around. You'll see the node show up every now and then, and we're getting it closer and closer to where that ascending and descending node is. So we kick it out a little bit further, try to bring that back. Oh, there we go. Look at that. A little bit of radial, a little bit of prograde, and just keep moving it. And just like that, we get ourselves a maneuver that's going to cost some, but we're going to get it an encounter. Alright guys, so one last thing I wanted to do here before calling it an episode. For one thing, we're doing a sunset launch, something I don't believe I've done before. Oh, I didn't even know there was a body feature. So let's launch this. Ooh, slow launch. Okay, it has been quite a while since I have launched this lifter. In fact, I don't know if I've actually really lifted or used this lifter at all. TWR is going up. This is our 1.6 ton lifter. That should go up pretty quick once we get going here. We are headed north. We are going to go into a polar orbit because I want to put a survey satellite of some sort into a polar orbit, just to see what that survey scanner or how that works. I don't know how close to polar you have to be. We are going for, let me look here. We need to try to set our inclination as close as possible to where we need to be here. Oh, we're getting that oscillation again. Not so dark up here. So you may have seen it in the previous clips. I didn't really want to talk about it too much, but you will see no oscillations. Come on now. We do have Lunar Lab 1 complete. And actually, as far as that goes, you probably haven't seen that because I was probably showing a 40-ton lifter sitting, waiting to get done. That one's done too and waiting in storage. So basically, in a future episode here, we have two pretty good-sized missions we're going to be attempting to do here. I don't know how well it's going to work, but at the very least, we're going to try it and see what happens. The 40-ton lifter shouldn't be an issue. The Lunar Lab, I don't even know if we're going to get it off the ground. So that one's going to be interesting. Well, we'll get it off the ground. I don't know what's going to happen after that. It may not end well. This does not like to go off of the vector very much here. We're going to burn out. Next stage. Still got to push our apoapsis up a little bit more. Okay, our inclination is at 80 degrees. So we actually need to go this way. Try to bring that up as close to 90 as possible. So I'm not sure how precise it has to be. And then I get our apoapsis height. Oh, I think it was supposed to be above 60 kilometers, wasn't it? Oh no, this would be above 60 kilometers. So we're gonna go for maybe like 100. So inclination is at 86. Like I said, get as close to 90 as possible here. Keep pushing our apoapsis height up. We do have a second, or a third stage, I should say, if we need it. And a half. And let's bring her back to center here. We are at 90 degrees inclination. We're darn close to it. Can't get much closer than that. So I'm still trying to push the apoapsis up higher. I'd like to get the satellite up a ways. We are in space, so we can deploy those. You can see all it is a real simple little satellite here. Let's extend those. Extend the solar panels. I think we're going to push this apoapsis height up to, oh, let's say like 250. Something like that. You can see we've almost actually got our apoapsis, or periapsis out. If you look here, it's a pretty darn circular orbit. So we're just going to bring this up to our apoapsis. Let's go. Velocity vector is right here. Pushing the inclination up just a little bit more. You can see we must be going over the top of the pole because we're spinning around there. Oh, there we go. So we're actually at full height here, which means I'm actually going to decouple this back to this guy. Let's send him down. There. Now we'll get a periapsis below the horizon. This guy's going, so let's deploy this scanner. And let's see if this allows us to do an orbital survey. Uploading data. I can't see it. I think we might get some science out of this too. But I'm curious to see what. Warning, returning data. Aborting. Did I run out of power? Oh, I did. Oh, do I not have enough battery power on here? Oh, that's going to be sad if that's the case. Transmission interruptions may compromise data integrity. Alright, well, we're going to try that. Let's accelerate here. Let's get some charge back. The nice part about doing the launch when we did, we're basically running on the Terminator. So let's watch this. Oh yeah, look at that go. There, we're below half, yeah. This might be a failed mission. Oh, no, it is continuing. 81%. Can I time warp through this? $91. It's like we're staring at the moon here. 10 science added. So orbital survey. Ooh, oh, look at this. So I don't know. Do we have options here? So if we go inverse, heat map, blue. Oh, okay, so we want to do exotic minerals, gypsum, hydrates, carbonite, carburidium, metallic ore. So that's a map of where the ores are. Interesting. What else do we have here? Minerals. I don't know what that means. Some rare metals. Substrate. Uranium. Water. Water would be a good one for the other planets. For the other surfaces. It looks like it's pretty much throughout. Which is to be expected on here. Oh, here's ore. Silicates, alumina. So there's a lot of them. Interesting. So that apparently is how the scanner works. And we can utilize that. I think also now, if we go to CurbNet access, kind of shows you apparently where it is. Okay. Or is that just showing us like what? Oh, there we go. The largest field of view. So I think it has to do with the continent that we're going over here. So you can see here, here's water, here's land. Okay. And I think this is allowed because we have, we did the orbital scanning is what it is. Interesting. So I guess we're going to have to explore that more and more. But we do have a scanner up here, and apparently we need a lot of battery power. We should have known that. But with that, guys, I think I'm going to wrap things up here. We've got some big things prepared here in the upcoming future here, but we'll get to that in the next one. Ooh, can't see. Thank you all for watching. Watch out for this hurricane here, and as always, take it easy.